Hello, monsters. This afternoon there's this one stock that's on my watch list today. I want to spend just a couple minutes to take a quick look at what I'm to take a quick look at the technicals as well as some of the things that are appearing on my radars. Keep this one on your watch list. This is one of our previously favorite stock, Baxalta, symbol BXLT. Now, here is the annual chart, the daily chart. Now, pretty simple technicals here if you apply. See right here around 40 to 40.50, $40 and $40.50 has been the resistance. There's these big giant volume over price resistance bar. So if I simply draw a trend line resistance here, right here, you can see how it continues to attack that particular resistance, and it looks like, see the volume right behind it for the last couple days. This is what I absolutely always like. Whenever a stock is approaching a critical technical resistance, which in this case is around 40.50, and it's coming with on the back of very high volume behind it, that basically tells me the stock is under heavy accumulation, and it's just a matter of time before it breaks out and rips through it. So that's what we're seeing in the stock. Very high volume for the last couple of days. It's coming up to 40.50 resistance right here. Going back to the option market, this is what I'm seeing this afternoon. This is not huge, just to be very, very clear, but it is bullish. And this is how I tend to flag what is unusual and what is not unusual. It's the sort of activity that probably will not cross anybody else's radar, but it catches my attention. So this is what I'm seeing in Baxalta in May. 40 strike calls right here. They bought 800 of these contracts for up to $1.60 offer this afternoon, and separately there was a block of 500 contracts, June 40 calls bought right here for up to $2.15 offer. This particular trade right here, June 40 calls, catches gets me a little more excited than the May one, simply because it buys us a little more time, and this was bought in one block, so it's about $120,000 bullish bet, basically looking for stock to break out through this technical resistance after this high volume accumulation. Now, a couple things on Baxalta that I'm going to quickly walk through. First, right here are all my previous notes that I've written over the years, or over last year and a half, about Baxalta. We have been following the stock very closely. We know Shire is buying Baxalta for $32 billion, or $47.50 per share, $18 of which will be paid in cash, and the rest will be paid in Shire stock. The deal was finally announced after Shire raised it a couple times. It was finally agreed upon on January 11th this year. Now, interesting thing is, because this deal is not all cash deal, it is $18 of which is in cash, and the rest is in Shire stock. So we have to go to Shire stock. If this stock starts to break out from here, and it has also been running on very high volume, and we have been seeing a ton and ton of bullish activity. In fact, I've been mentioning it in the chat room every single day that today was the 4th consecutive day of bullish order flow in Shire. So you can see a little bit right here in May, as well as, most importantly, they have been selling puts. They have been selling puts in Shire to finance calls, specifically in June month. See all this put open interest in June 150 puts, as well as June 140 puts. They have been selling these puts in the last couple days to buy different legs in June out of money calls, and some traders went as high as this is today. They were buying July 200 strike calls in Shire, with stock currently trading at 167. So, and there were some that went right here. I mean, you have to go all the way out to October, and you'll see that there's few that could go as high as 225 strike in October, with stock at 167. Today is the 4th consecutive day of bullish order flow in Shire, and considering, again, going back to my note, that this is not an all cash deal, it's mostly being paid with Shire stock. So when Shire stock goes higher, that means that the value that is being assigned to Baxalta stock will also increase, which means wherever Shire goes Baxalta. So 4 days they were buying call options, selling puts and buying call options in Shire, and now today they're starting to appear in Baxalta as well. They're buying May calls as well as June calls. That's interesting to me. Now, a couple other things. First, here is Goldman Sachs note. Let me expand this right here. There are some key events that are coming up in that are non-earnings catalysts that are coming up. One of them actually applies to Baxalta, which is started today, March 23rd, March 22nd, March 23rd. There's this conference going on, International Plasma Protein Conference, and in this, Goldman Sachs believe we forecast 6 to 8% plasma volume growth and stable plasma pricing on a global basis. This is interesting because I have another note from Goldman Sachs that came out in January, in which Goldman Sachs had raised the total plasma volume growth projections from 5% to 6.5%, and now they're saying it's going to be 6 to 8% after channel checks, which means that the consensus is gradually moving higher for Baxalta. So perhaps in this conference that's taking place today and tomorrow, Baxalta will actually talk about that. Maybe that is the catalyst. Next one. Here is another note from, this one comes from Bank of America. Now, one thing you will notice here is, and I'm going to skip a lot of details over here because this note came out on February 16 after the company reported earnings, but this is what gets my attention. They're reiterating buy, of course, but what's most compelling is this line. Shire is trading at 10.7x or post Baxalta 27 EPS, seriously undervaluing its double-digit 2017 to 2020 EPS growth, and more than pricing in risk from potential future competition. Now, but this is exactly what I've been discussing a little bit, mostly in just short format in my chat room as well. The Shire, in my opinion, especially after the merger closes with Baxalta, which by the way is expected sometime in middle of 2016, so this year, it is significantly underestimating the future growth for the next 3 years, while the stock is trading at 10.7 times its 2017 EPS estimate. Now, the risk why the stock has been so depressed, both Shire and Baxalta, mostly Shire, is because there's this unended unanswered question about potential $10 billion tax liability. Now, to give you quick background on this, the biggest shareholder of Baxalta is Baxter. BAX is the symbol. BAX is selling its entire 20% stakes that they have in Baxalta as part of spin-off, and mostly it's going to Shire. So it's basically an exchange from one company to another. As Shire is buying that stake from Baxter, there is a cushion around $10 billion tax liability. The companies are trying to fight this with the IRS, and they don't want to pay this tax liability. But in this particular case, Bank of America is saying that despite that $10 billion tax liability, taking into account arising from the deal and taking into account that into the picture, it is still trading at exceptionally low valuation as just 10.7 times earnings after the deal closes with Baxalta in summer of 2016. I hope I did not confuse you guys all. To give you another look at this, here is the quick the pro forma analysis of Shire Baxalta accretion analysis. This one comes from Susquehanna, and here's what I'm looking at. So on a standalone basis, these are the earnings projections for Shire going forward. So here's the stock right here, quickly going here. Here is Shire trading at $167, and if I go right back to right here, you'll see that these are the earnings projection, and basically double-digit increase every single year going all the way out to 2020. But once the deal closes in the summer of this year with Baxalta, here's the pro forma analysis. They see 3% uptick. So here's $12.64 for fiscal year 2016, jumping up to 13. Here's next year going from 14.35 to 15.25, and so on and so on. And this after including a scenario in which a $10 billion tax liability will be paid to close the deal. If you actually assume for a second that the $10 billion tax liability will not be paid, these numbers will go up even higher. So you can see how cheap Shire is. So basically, if I simply assume 1525 EPS for Shire in 2017, that basically is right where Bank of America is saying the stock is trading at less than 11 times earnings. Remove the impact of that $10 billion tax liability, and this number will probably go up even higher. And so these are the moving parts over here. Just wanted to highlight what I'm looking at my screen. Most important thing is Baxalta. I like this trade. The stock is coming up to technical resistance on very heavy volume. The deal with Shire is going to be closing sometime this summer. Both Shire and BXLT are seeing the increasing amount of call activity, and most importantly in Baxalta, right here, they're buying May 40 calls as well as June 40 calls. So what would be the target? If you buy straight June 40 calls, which is what I like, and the stock breaks out over here, there's no resistance. I mean, it's going straight into space essentially. So if it breaks out here, you would want to bet on a stealth rally all the way up to past this 42 line, probably up to 43 in a couple months. And so we're looking at possibly 50 to 100% gain on the on those June 40 call options. So the target essentially would be straight 43 plus on the breakout. So that's what I'm looking at. That's it.